Final early stage company, FoxFace Systems, Inc. from Camas, Washington, provides an easy and affordable online platform for the affordable housing compliance process. Please welcome Alicia Venez.
Oh. Hi, guys. The last time I was on this stage, I almost vomited, and I guess now you know why.
It's not about the tonsils.
I mean, that was a close one, but I love her pitch. So early in the pandemic, I had a client tell me that they were struggling with figuring out how to do a remote lease-up. A lease-up occurs when a new building is being built. Typically, when an affordable, can I move this? When an affordable housing building comes up, you see a line around the corner for applicants to get on the wait list and go through the compliance process. This obviously wouldn't have worked during a pandemic, but really, why is that the system at all? People standing outside, some elderly, some disabled, all waiting for housing? Super lame. The compliance process starts with 37 questions that each ask about income and assets for each adult house member. We go through the process at the time of move-in and then again annually. And the forms are difficult, mostly because they're created by the IRS and it results in a time-consuming process. The process is a pain in the ass. It's hard on the residents and frustrating for the property managers. And when I asked property managers, or who I like to call my peers, what their main struggles were, they reported 4 things. 1, there is poor communication with residents, management teams, and third-party agencies. 2, our owners are facing financial insecurity. We can't guarantee timely tax credits with our current systems. 3, there are long wait times for move-ins. Residents are living in shelters, on couches, and on the street because we just can't get it together. And 4, we never have enough time because we're constantly helping residents through this process. So my team set to work. The FoxFace team, who is made up of property managers, asset managers, a developer, and a designer, created a system not unlike TurboTax. We took those ugly IRS forms and created a system that does the heavy lifting for residents. The system asks the questions one by one, gathers contact information for banks, government agencies, and employers, and collects all that needed information until the forms are completed. The value, we empower residents while protecting assets and saving property managers time. As a result, we move people in faster and more efficiently. We have competitors, but they're expensive, and they treat affordable housing as an afterthought. Their systems are built for conventional housing and only sort of function for affordable housing. They're 2 different beasts, and you would think with 10 million affordable units in America, we would have figured that out already. We're currently testing FoxFace with property managers in our network, but we plan to sell FoxFace to property managers at $3.50 per unit for the whole property per month on an annual contract. We've started discussions with property managers in Oregon and Washington and California. Should we move to the next round, should we win altogether, we would use the money to provide FoxFace for the proper insurances, legal, and marketing collateral needed to get off the ground. FoxFace is currently surviving off the coattails of my other company, but it really could use an influx of cash. There is pain for property managers here, I know, because I am one, and residents here. And experience has taught me that where I find pain, I also find revenue. And frankly, I am excited about that, but the truth is, FoxFace will help people with unstable housing find stability, and everyone deserves that. I am Alicia Venez, CEO and owner of FoxFace Systems, Inc. Thank you for having me. And my baby.
Thanks, Alicia. It's awesome to see you back.
Thank you.
I love that you multiplied by 1.
Yeah, you know, my other company is a staffing company, and I really couldn't find employees anymore, so I made them.
She looks reliable. She looks really reliable. Okay, Jen and Brian. Jen, looks like you have a question.
Alicia, tell us, so you sort of mentioned that these solutions do exist, but they're, for market rate housing, and there isn't anything for affordable. So what's the difference? Like, how is this different than applying to live in a market rate house?
Yeah, so conventional affordable housing defer, that's a really great question, in that we just regular people every day say, hey, I have 3 times the amount of rent, I have good rental history, I'm going to move in. The opposite of that happens for affordable housing. With affordable housing, money is tied to any given unit or building, and we have to prove that we don't make enough money. So imagine having disabilities or some sort of barrier that keeps you from understanding the IRS forms, which, I mean, let's be honest, how many of us suffer with the IRS forms? You know, I don't know what I'm doing with the taxes. So
Very intimidating.
yeah, so with that, they're going out and they're suffering all of these barriers and having to gather all that information just to find housing.
So you're selling to the property manager.
Yes.
And then if someone wants to live in one of their units, like what do? They just have like a open application all the time on their website, or like how does it actually work?
Yeah, so the process is, I was gonna say simple, but it's not. So they find a building that they wanna live on, they get put on a very long wait list. The wait list could be 7 years long at times. It is in Portland, which is another revenue stream later that we'll work on. They go through the background check, which is different than what we do. Once they pass the background check and say, hey, you're a good renter, you don't have any past criminal histories, you're ready to move in, that's when they start the compliance process. And that's when those ugly IRS forms kind of attack them.
Are the property managers government entities, or are they private companies or nonprofits, or like what are they?
Both. So my husband is the director of asset management for a local housing authority, and so it could be him, or it won't be because, you know, conflict of interest. But it could be people like him, government agencies like him, or other entities that are privately owned.
Yeah, so are you having a geographic rollout? Are you just starting kind of in the Pacific Northwest, or are you planning on rolling this out nationally? That's the first part of my question.
Okay.
The second is, it seems like there's like a demand-supply offset here where there's just 7 years of demand, just in Portland, right? It's
Yes.
got to be the same elsewhere, where
Yes.
there's huge, like, visible homelessness.
Yes.
And if there is an offset, is the supply there? Is it not there? Does it need to be brought online? Where does it stand?
Yeah, so 2 different revenue streams, but I like what you're thinking there, Brian. So the first question, repeat. So, oh yes, geographically. So geographically, yes, we'll start in the Pacific Northwest, mostly because that's where my network is from, and that's where all of our people's network is from. And then we'll spread out, depending on where that network leads us. The waitlist question is different, however, because they would have already made it to the top of any given waitlist by the time they meet us.
Yeah. So to the supply and demand problem, I mean, there's no shortage of demand for these units.
No,
People
gosh,
probably
no.
are willing to lie down in the street in order to get one.
They have, yes.
And so, you know, what is the sort of impetus for a property manager to buy this thing? Like, are they, I'm not saying they're bad people, it's just like, why introduce this into the process? If they have so much demand, they don't have a problem with
Yes.
demand, and they don't have a problem with
Labor.
cost. Okay, labor.
Yep,
Got it.
yep. They are managing all of these buildings. Say one manager has 100 units and it's spread out across 4 buildings. This would help them consolidate all of that into one location, and then they wouldn't have to spend so much money in labor going to different places.
All right, any questions from the audience, from the crowd, from the theater? Yes.
Oh no.
Where does the name FoxFace Systems come from?
I had a dream that one of my companies was dying, and then
She's almost.
do you want to come here? Come on. And in the dream, it was fish, and FoxFace is a blue fish. That's what it was, you guys. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm totally into it. I'm like a super weird. I am that friend that's like, let me tell you about my weird dream. There were huge waves, and then Justin Bieber was there. It was a whole thing. Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Or we're pretty clear. Okay. Yes.
I'm just curious if there are governmental entities that are offering support to you financially as well.
Are there any governmental entities offering you support as well that you're exploring?
Yep, we have had discussions with Oregon Housing and Community Services, but we're not quite there yet.
I think I have one more question. Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if you could walk me through the catalyst of starting this. Like, what moment or what day, what was going on that struck you to take this from an idea that you thought about while you were driving?
Yes.
What was it that made you have this idea and want to actually pursue it and bring it to life?
Yeah, a client of mine from my other company was having a meltdown and couldn't do a remote lease up in a pandemic. So she said, Alicia, do you know anyone who can do a remote lease up? And I was like, WTF, no, that's never been done. And so then I go to my office and I say to my husband, hey, can we do this? And he's like, no, that's never been done. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. And then I called some people that I know, and they were like, yes, let's do it. And within 3 days, my husband had a cool little flow chart up there for me, and I was like, build this for me. And they were like, okay. That's where we are.
awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to say, Employee of the Month is crushing it.
I'm right.
I know. I'm very impressed. Alicia, it's amazing to have
Thank
you
you.
back.
Thank
I'm
you,
rooting for you
Shannon.
all the way. Thanks for coming.